addition to our friends at Steve Brown Apartments, we are thankful for a whole series of sponsors for our State of the Downtown. They're listed on the screen behind me and on the back of the report. So huge thanks to all of these companies and nonprofits that are part of our organization. We really appreciate it. All right, the State of the Downtown started in 2010. This is an effort to benchmark what is happening and provide an objective and accurate data for all things downtown Madison. Today we are excited to share our 14th annual report, a document providing a wealth of information to better understand the current state of our downtown and help plan for future projects, growth, challenges, and opportunities to maintain a healthy and vital downtown Madison. In producing this report, we have a myriad of partners that we work with, a whole series of sources, and the City of Madison staff are at the top of that list. So thank you for helping us compile so much of the data and for all of the rest of you that helped provide information. This report was designed this year by Alpha Graphics, a DMI member, and there is a digital version available on our website as well, or through a QR code that is somewhere. There we go. There we go. I was like, wait a second here. I don't have the clicker. So yes, please do check it out. And honestly, I cannot say enough thanks to the team at Alpha Graphics. They are just fantastic to work with, and their new location in the Cat B section of downtown is great. So please, please check it out. All right, this year's report has tons of very interesting information and just a few key highlights. Reveals about $190 million in new construction. We expect that's in 2023. We expect that number to go up significantly in 2024 by all of the activity that's happening. Another plus note is the office vacancy rate right now is at 12.3%. That's the fourth quarter. It's been at 12%. The national average right now is just above 20%. And all of our peer cities are either somewhere between about 18 and 28%. So yes, 12 is not exactly where we want it to be, but it is much better than it is in many other markets. We feel very confident about the future of downtown Madison and all of the great office space we have here. The population, according to the census, has ticked to 34,000. It goes up about a little over 1,000 every single year. And actually, according to our friends at Placer AI, who track cell phones anonymously, we know there's about 40,000 residents based on some students filling out, oh, I actually live in Sheboygan, but technically, according to the census, you live here. So that's 40,000 residents. To put that in perspective, that is much larger than cities with metro areas much larger than ours, like Cleveland, Tampa, and many others. So right now, our population is growing, and that is very positive for us. Lastly, we want to talk about visitor spending. Our great friends, I know Rob Gard, Kate Dale, and Jamie Patrick are all here. We had a banner year. The most economic spend ever in downtown's history happened last year at $314 million. And we are very confident that, right, Kate, that 2024 will be better? Good, I can say that because the TV cameras are here. We know that based on room tax receipts and a few others. 2024 will be a banner year for tourism. More folks are coming to downtown, and importantly, they're spending a lot of money. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So this data really underscores what's happening in the success and the sustained momentum we have in our downtown area. And it allows us to really think about how we move forward. We're excited. We announced this a few months ago, but we're working with our friends of the City of Madison and Matt Wachter and the team to create a downtown Madison strategic visioning plan. And this work will begin early next year. We are very excited, and that work kicked off this week with the hiring of Emily DeVore as our Director of Placemaking and Economic Development. She will help champion this product. This vision will help set the future for what is going to happen downtown. We're working with our friends at Equity by Design to do significant outreach to talk to all of you, and then put a plan together to move forward for the future of downtown. All right. We have lots of resources on our website aside from just the state of the downtown. Please do check out our website for two sources of information that we update all of the time. First is our data dashboard on the left-hand side of this graphic, and our Downtown Madison Development Tracker. We track all development projects in the downtown, starting from a neighborhood meeting, going to about 6 months post-construction. And right now, there are about 8,000 apartment units in the works in downtown. This is real-time information, so please do check it out at our site, www.downtownmadison.org. All right, you've heard enough from me. Let's bring up our distinguished panelists today to hear more about the report and what is happening in downtown. Talk about the major issues facing our community and the opportunities we have for the downtown. I'm excited to announce our panelists. First up, we have Matt Carlson, partner at Carlson, Black, O'Callaghan, and Battenberg, and a footnote to Matt Carlson. Matt Carlson, along with Susan Schmitz, invented the State of the Downtown report when he was chair 14 years ago. So thank you to Matt and Susan. And then he said to me earlier, you've never brought me up on the panel, so 14 years later, we've righted that wrong.
The revenge I get.
The revenge. Oh, well, we'll wait for this. We've got 25, 30 minutes of revenge here. All right, next up, Kate Dale, Executive Vice President of Brand Strategy and Communications at Destination Madison. Next up, we have Emily Mail, Vice President at Broadwing Advisors, LLC. Angela Russell, Chief Diversity Officer at True Stage. Welcome, Angela. Matt Trammell, Executive Director of Madison Central Business Improvement District. And Matt Wachter, Director of City of Madison's Planning, Community, and Economic Development Divisions. We were going to invite the entire crowd up, but we just decided on these 6. Here's my bad joke that's not going to hit. All of the 3 of our panelists are named Matt, so if it's all right, Angela, Emily, and Kate, if I just call you Matt? Perfect. And I also feel like the 3 Matts is like the beginning of a bad 80s sitcom that just didn't quite make it. Yes. It was like a precursor to Small Wonder. All right. You have to be a certain age, I guess, to remember that show, or it just wasn't funny. All right. Let's get on with this show. All right. We're going to ask some questions of our panel to really find out what's happening here in the downtown. Matt, we talked about it just a second ago from the number we have in total number of construction, the number of units that we're tracking on our development tracker. What are you seeing as far as real estate development here in the downtown? What are the trends? Where are the buildings? What does the future look like?
Jason, thanks for the question. First off, just want to say congratulations to the DMI team, the DMI staff, obviously all the contributions and others on producing another fantastic State of the Downtown report and putting together another fantastic event. When Susan and I were envisioning this event 14 years ago, this is exactly what we were hoping the event would grow into in terms of the resources it would provide to the public, the private, the nonprofit side in terms of planning for and understanding where our city is going, where it's come from, where our downtown is coming from, et cetera. So great job, congratulations. You know, my high-level comment in terms of where's development at right now, what is the overview of the situation, I would say challenging, but great opportunities exist, as we see in the report, in terms of where the development community's at, where the development opportunities are. You know, when we were envisioning this event, I remember we had an initial panel, and one of the people on the panel was Paul Mensch, who was at ULI at the time, now at University Research Park. And Paul made the important point from the development community side of the equation, which is real estate development doesn't create demand, it reacts to demand. And I think what we're seeing in the report this year very clearly reflects that. So if you walk through the different kind of industry segments, and we'll get some additional comments on this, you're seeing obviously a lot of demand around housing downtown. And that is obviously driving a lot of the development that you're seeing. You know, driving in on John Nolan every morning, I kind of count the cranes that I see in the skyline. And we've got 6 up right now that I could see.
8.
8, sorry. I couldn't see 2 of them, sorry. Blocked
one more is coming up.
So the point is, that's a healthy sign of where development is. Now, most of those cranes are either probably for university projects or they're for housing-based projects, whether student-based or market rate. So you can see from the number of residents we have and the growth of downtown residents over time where a significant opportunity for development is. Now, with that said, that doesn't mean that development is easy in that area just because there's demand. There's obviously a lot of, and I have a number of clients and good friends in the development community in the crowd, so they would maybe make this point harder than I would. It's expensive right now to build. You have a high interest rate environment for developers. You have a changing interest rate development environment, which is hard to predict in some ways. And of course, you still have very high costs of construction. So those are headwinds in terms of what can be built in the downtown, but in general, things are very strong in the housing market. If you start flipping through some of the other segments, clearly we have a great pleasure of having a world-class university in our downtown, and you see all sorts of development related to the campus. That institutional development is critical for the success of the downtown and for the future success of it because it's drawing residents, it's drawing interest, right? So great institutional growth. We have a fantastic museum project coming, maybe another one. You know, we have some interesting issues to deal with in terms of the state and the opportunities that state properties may create over time. We'll talk about that a little bit if we get to affordable housing as an area that we want to focus on as we go forward in this conversation. Other areas that are kind of more challenging, I mean, we definitely have a strong office market, but we don't have the demand at the moment to justify someone wanting to take the risk on developing additional office. So office is an interesting area, but not something that you're seeing a lot of development in at the moment. I think one of the most interesting areas that is kind of at a crossroads is hospitality. We are sitting in a fantastic hotel. We've got so many great hotels in the downtown. There's interest in building more, but again, you've got significant cost headwinds in terms of making those pro formas pencil out for developers. So in general, very strong environment, a lot of demand that's creating great opportunities, but headwinds that make it challenging. So I want to just say quick hats off to Matt Wachter and the city team. The work they did with planning in the Mifflandia neighborhood, as I call it, Mifflin Street area, in that area, you're seeing it pay off with development. So when you have good city planning like that, that focuses on density and opportunities, the developers will come because you take away some of the challenges that they have in planning projects when they don't have certainty about what the results may be. So that's my overview.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. In addition, talking about demand, we work with CoStar significantly, which provides a significant amount of data for us. And I was on stage with their director in Wisconsin a few months ago, and he was talking about the vacancy rate for housing. He said we're in third or fourth right now in the country for larger cities. But if we continue to have the sustained demand we have now, and we continue to build supply at the same pace we're building now, in a year's time, middle of next year, Madison will have the lowest vacancy rate of any city in the country, surpassing New York City. Some ways that's good, and majority of the ways that is not good. And so certainly a lot of people are moving here. A lot of folks are moving here. I want to pivot just quickly to Emily on office, right? Yes, you weren't expecting that. You thought I was going to Kate. I'm just keeping you on your toes. But you talked about the office market, Matt, at the end there. I would love to talk about the office market, and then after we'll talk to Kate on tourism. Where is the office market right now in downtown? What are we seeing? What are the challenges and what are the opportunities?
Thank you, Jason. Is this okay? So Madison, as Jason already mentioned, downtown Madison is sitting about 10% less in its vacancy rate from our peer cities. There's quite a few factors that feed into that. I'll go through a couple of those. One of it is just the scale of our downtown market is relatively small at 3.4 million square feet. To put that in perspective, the Willis Tower, Sears Tower to many of us, is 4.5 million square feet. So, we're really looking at a very niche market. Added to that, we're constrained by being on an isthmus, we're constrained by capital height restrictions for development. We're bound by residential neighborhoods that are healthy in the university. And so historically, we have just not overbuilt our office supply. And so that has helped us over these last few years compared to other markets. Positively, the proximity to the capital, proximity to the university has attracted a very stable tenant base of professional services that need access to government and court systems. But I think kind of most exciting and what relates to a lot of people on this panel, downtown Madison, and Jason kind of pointed to this a little bit, has a healthy mix of users. And so users that are employers and employees, residents, visitors, and students that have supported retail, that have supported entertainment venues, that have supported transportation systems and parking structures that are really those amenities that office tenants want right now. So, we check a lot of really great boxes as a community.
Yeah, certainly we see the flight to quality, right? And folks that are moving their offices or staying in their offices, they go towards quality. And quality is two things. It's quality of building itself, right? The amenities in the building, but it's also a quality location. And we're seeing that, right? One of the reports, items in the report says, this last year we've had the most visitors to downtown at 8.7 million, second only to 2017. So we're seeing people come downtown. It's just in a different way. One of those ways is in tourism. Right? Our tourism, yes, Matt, give her that mic, please. Thank you. Our good friend, Kate Dale and the team at Destination Madison, a strong partner of ours, does tremendous work in marketing our city towards the tourists. What is the current state of the tourism industry in downtown and, of course, also in greater Madison area?
Jason, it's Matt Dale today.
Oh, Matt Dale. Yes, I'm sorry, Matt Dale. Yes.
No,
Good one.
remarkable. We had one of the most remarkable years this past year, and we are on track to do it again this year. And a big part of that, downtown is vital to the success of a healthy tourism market. We know all of our visitors are coming downtown, whether it's campus or Capitol, State Street, the surrounding neighborhoods, but specifically Monono Terrace and the great events we have there. And part of the reason to the success of this last year, and I should mention that the success of the last year was not only great in its own right, not only did we beat our highest number ever, but we are literally on track to continue forward. But part of that was prior to the pandemic, we focused predominantly on the big group events, so sporting events, conventions, meetings. Those really filled the hotel rooms quickly. And we knew coming out of the pandemic, for the first time ever, typically coming out of any slow period, sports are the first to return, conventions are the first to return. It wasn't the case, it was leisure. So we really needed to spend some time understanding our leisure market and how do we attract those leisure visitors to Madison, and when it was safe for them to travel, that they would come here. And we felt like Madison had all the great amenities to do so. So in 2020, we spent time figuring out who our audience is, who are the most valuable people, what should make them come here. And we worked on a 400-mile drive radius. So that's really our focus area of the drive market. Drive was first to return. We spent a lot of time in the Chicago and Minneapolis markets. I'll talk a little bit about that predominantly or possibly more later. But having that drive market strong is really important. Also, direct flight markets were really important to us as well. So we looked at 6 of our specific direct and how do we bring them here throughout the entire year. One really great thing that we've seen this past year, New York City has actually popped as one of our top 5 markets outside of the state of Wisconsin coming here. And the great thing about New York City is they're spending a ton of money when they come to town. So we will gladly take it, more so than Milwaukee. I mean, Milwaukee comes a lot, but sorry if there are any Milwaukee people here, they're not spending as much money as Chicago and New York City and others.
Let's not insult those that are spending money.
Well, I know, but
We'll take it all. Yeah.
you know, I'm not gonna, they were just not staying overnight. So for the room, they'd rather have the other ones, I think. So anyhow, it's been a really, really remarkable year for us, and we're excited to see how we do next year.
So Kate, I have a line that I used to say, we love Chicago people's money. Should I now say we love New York City people money?
Yes,
All right,
yes.
great.
And everybody's money.
That's
We'll take
right.
it all.
I'm sounding very greedy and very capitalistic here, which is,
One really quick thing to note that Matt brought up earlier,
Good.
hospitality in general, that is a big concern. The workforce is a big concern because as we bring more visitors in here, we need to have people staffing the hotels and the restaurants and everything that not only we enjoy, but the visitors enjoy. So that is a concern as we grow, that we continue to grow that workforce as well.
one thing we know for certain is that downtown Madison is not welcoming for everybody. And Angela Russell owns one of the great quotes I've heard about downtown. She's looking at me like, what am I going to say?
I don't know what you're talking
A few years ago, she said to me, honestly, something that has resonated with me and hopefully has centered our work. And she said, it's Downtown Madison Inc. and our whole community's job to build soulful places and soulful spaces for every soul in our community. Yes, you said that. But she's right. All right, this is going great. And Angela's on our board of directors, so it's gonna be a long afternoon for me. Angela, what are those opportunities and challenges that we have in diversity, equity, accessibility, and inclusion in downtown?
Thank you for making me sound so eloquent and demure. I think
You said that.
I don't remember it, but I've heard you quote me saying that. But yeah, great. Thank you. So I will start off with some things that I think are going well and where I've seen some change. I don't know how. I think it was 20 years ago where Dane Dances started. Raise your hand if you've been to Dane Dances. Yeah, everyone should go. I feel like that is one of the most culturally diverse experiences that one can have in Madison, and that's rare, right? It's really rare when you think about downtown Madison experiences. So I encourage folks to go to Dane Dances. It's incredible, but I think that that's what downtown Madison should strive to look like on a regular basis. The Mad Lit series has started. Raise your hand if you've been to Mad Lit. A lot fewer people have been to Mad Lit. This happens in the summer as well at the top of State Street. Incredible artists come through. And again, that's a start of where we could be going, but it's not going far enough. And I'm going to connect a couple of dots in terms of questions you asked me to think about. One is that we're an employer on the west side of Madison, but we have employees who live in this area. We try to recruit people to come and live in this area, and then we have a lot of folks who work remote but come here regularly. When I try to recruit young folks of color to come to Madison, they're like, what is there for me to do? And when I come downtown, it doesn't look like me. It doesn't look like the experiences that I want to have. So I think that we have a long way to go, and as a middle-aged Black woman, I'm not going to have those answers because my kids call me cringe, out of touch, all of those things. All of those things. So I'm not the right audience per se in terms of young folks of color, but how do we get their input intentionally? The other thing that I think about outside, I mean, there are all aspects of diversity that exist, but I also think about outside of race, disability and accessibility. And downtown, we have a lot of great networking events, but our networking events are geared towards people who are neurotypical and extroverts. What are we in, that's only, not everyone is neurotypical or an extrovert. What are we doing to create events and event spaces that are more inclusive of the spectrum of diversity? Those are just a couple of thoughts off the top of my head.
Thank you, Angela. I do want to acknowledge Jason Belangi is here in the room, the Executive Director of Access to Independence, who heads up our Beyond Compliance Task Force, working in accessibility with Angela and many folks.
Can I give him Jason a shout out really quickly?
You can shout out any Jason, including this one.
Jason, do you want us to give you a standing ovation right now?
Yeah.
Right. So Access to Independence is great, and they've done really good work with DMI. And if you have not visited the DMI website to see how Access to Independence kind of teaches folks how to be more inclusive around disability, I highly, highly recommend visiting the website. It's really wonderful. So Jason, thank you for your work.
Oh, Jason Joyce. There's several others here. One part of the report that we monitor very closely is what's happening with the storefront landscape in downtown, mainly in Madison Central Business and Bruin District, which again is roughly State Street and the Capitol Square. We saw some...
And King Street.
And King Street, and Hamilton, and a few others, right? Gilman. Matt has done a fantastic job as Executive Director of Madison Central Business Improvement District, but it's a changing environment, right? We see that vacancies are at 9%, a little bit up. Some of that's based on development projects that did not go through. We said earlier, 80% of those businesses, though, are still locally owned. So, Matt, what are those opportunities and challenges for downtown retail, for the attractions, for the event venues, for the restaurants in the downtown?
Thanks for the question, Matt. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So just on a day full of data, just drop a little bit more here. So roughly, there are 400 spaces in the bid area that the businesses are in, and in this year, there's been 37 new businesses open. So there is regeneration happening. There's been 25 that have gone out, but that's 12 more, right? So that 90% occupancy rate does continue to tick up. Retail, when you talk to some of the retailers on the street, the challenges really are that, most consumers have pulled back a little bit on their spending. So you hear from some of them that the receipts are down maybe 10 to 20% year over year, and that's obviously a big challenge when they're, running their operations on pretty thin margins. And of course, it is kind of a higher cost to do business downtown, due to some of the rents and issues like that. But there's actually much more opportunity. I think given the fact that a lot of sales are happening online now, the retailers on the street really have an opportunity, and many of them are really kind of crushing this idea, which is people still want to come out to a place. They want to be part of something, part of an experience, and all of the things that happen downtown in the heart of Madison, in the bid, it's really the only place where you can do all of the things at once, including cultural institutions, live entertainment, restaurants, bars, retail, shopping. So there's so much of an opportunity to get more people down there and to make it an experience where people are really, kind of enjoying themselves. So that really is, I think, the big opportunity. And then, really working with the city, the Office of Business Resources and Economic Development, there are grants available to help, kind of reposition some of these businesses. And a lot of them are really taking them up on that offer. And that's obviously very important as we look to the future. On the restaurant and bar scene, when you talk to some of those owners, they're really seeing some trend changes based on the way that people are living and working, particularly, kind of a lack of happy hours at times, maybe less lunches than there used to be. And so they're really faced with some staffing challenges, human resources challenges to kind of figure out and smooth all of that out. So that inconsistent demand has made things challenging for them. But, again, on the opportunity side, Madisonians are definitely Epicurious. We have an amazing dining culture here. It continues to evolve. We don't need to talk more about Top Chef. I mean, there was a reason that they were in Wisconsin. There was a reason that they were featured in Madison. So I think that kind of higher level dining experience continues to get better, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. And then lastly, on the services side, I would just say that it's basically mostly opportunity, right? Because there kind of is a lack of services for the people who live here in certain ways, right? We could, use more doctors' offices and dentists. You could use more daycare. There are maybe nothing but opportunity, I think, on the services side, particularly when we know how quickly the population is growing down here.
Matt, I want to say sorry.
Which one?
Good point. That was my own hair. Matt Wachter, I want to say a big thank you to Matt Wachter, who is helping champion this new downtown Madison strategic visioning work. Love to know what the top priorities are for the city of Madison for economic growth and development in downtown and the communities surrounding downtown.
Sure. So as you read this wonderful report, you'll see City of Madison is growing a lot, especially downtown. And so the city's priority is really focusing on how do we plan for that growth, how do we manage that growth, how do we facilitate that kind of growth. And so that means making investments in the unsexy things like roads and bridges and sanitary sewers and things like that allow development to happen. It means making once-in-a-generation type of investments in things like bus rapid transit or the Madison Lakeway. It also means that we have to constantly be looking at how do we plan, what are our procedures to make sure that we're allowing the growth to happen, but happen in a responsible way. And it also means that we need to make sure that as this growth happens, that it really works for everyone. And so that means things like Angela was talking about, making sure that downtown is welcoming to people and the city's welcoming to people, but also means making sure that there is affordable housing options. And so that's where the city really puts a lot of its focus. So every year, the city of Madison invests millions of dollars to help developers add affordable housing. In the downtown, we've added a height bonus. So if a development is adding affordable housing, it gets to go a little bit taller than it otherwise would. The city is partnering with UW to make sure that there are new affordable student housing options in the market. And it means that we're looking at our own real estate, at our own properties and redeveloping them to create even more affordable housing. So that's really where I think we're putting our focus.
That's a great next topic is affordable housing. And I do want to acknowledge, our friends from UW are here, Craig Thompson, Brenda, Carl, and the team. They have been part of a group that Downtown Madison, Inc., and Alders, MGR Govindarajan, and Juliana Bennett put together an affordable student housing working group that made a series of recommendations to the city's housing strategy committee and the city council on ways that we could improve affordability for students, but also for young professionals who are the ones that are moving here. To Matt Wachter and to Matt Carlson, what do we need to be doing to develop more housing, and in particular, intentional affordable housing for everyone in our community? Matt Carlson, I'll start with you.
Thanks, Jason. Great topic, obviously, something we all spend a lot of time talking about. The city is very dedicated to, Dane County is very dedicated to. We have a lot of people and great institutions out there thinking about the topic, including DMI, which has long been kind of an advocate of affordable housing and helping, frankly, have a conversation around what does affordable housing mean, because it can mean a lot of different things, obviously. So from speaking kind of from, I guess, the developer community, the three things that we see as attorneys that work with a lot of different developers seeking to do projects in downtown, a lot of those have affordability components. My partners Dan O'Callaghan and Angie Black both are working on and have worked on a lot of large, complicated projects, including affordable housing. But the three things I would say that would stand out are density, partnerships, and creativity. I mean, those three factors basically all build into successful projects and successful projects that can include an affordable component. When we talk about density, to say something somewhat controversial, I would say, we love the capital height limitation in terms of the views it gives us, but it does significantly kind of tamp down the type of density we can grow in the downtown. Obviously, along the east side of town, we can't do much because of the airport height limitations. But as we look to the west, having increased density, height, et cetera, makes for projects that potentially could afford to include that in terms of the cost burdens that projects bear. So height and density, and the cities, obviously, Matt already hit it, and he'll hit it more after I talk, I think, in terms of their planning around the issue. Partnerships, I mean, obviously, we have Dane County, we have the city, we have organizations like Dane Workforce Housing that are investing significant dollars into projects. But it takes not just the partnerships of those organizations, there are other groups and other structures to kind of finance transactions with. But it takes a group to put projects together. On a recent affordable project I worked on, there were 7 different sources of dollars before you even got to the bank in terms of putting the deal together, because it's affordable doesn't mean it's a cheaper project to build for their developer. So there's a lot of dollars that have to be found and stacked together, but that's possible to do. There's a lot of partners out there in this community looking to do it. And the last point is that creativity. Is there a way to structure a project? And I know Nathan Watier's over there, and he's done a ton of this as well, is the question of, do you break the project into different boxes with different ownerships? Is there a way to find creative ways to keep costs down in different parts of the project? So you have to use all those different tools to make it work. So those would be the 3 things that I think have to combine and continue to combine to have success with affordability.
Thank you, Matt Wachter. Anything else to add from the city's perspective?
I mean, I think it's helpful to just take a step back and look at how far we've come in affordable housing in the last 10 years. So 10 years ago, we would see 1 new tax credit funded building every other year in the city of Madison and a handful of small developments. Last year, we funded 1,000 new units of affordable housing in the city of Madison. So that jump in a relatively short amount of time is I think, pretty amazing. But I also think we just need to keep in mind that there aren't silver bullets to this kind of problem. And so it takes constantly tweaking our funding programs, constantly looking at the zoning code, constantly looking at plans to allow things to happen, to keep making progress, but there aren't silver bullets.
Yeah, as part of the Affordable Student Housing Working Group, we did a survey of UW students, and it was literally 50,000 students with 50,000 definitions of what affordability is for them. And it's different for every single person. A really important question I want to ask Angela Russell. You work for a large employer in Madison, but is not based downtown. Why is downtown Madison so important for TrueStage, for the Epics, for the Exact Sciences, which are big employers but aren't downtown? Why is it so important for you?
Yes, one is around who we can recruit to stay in Madison, because having a strong downtown helps us do better recruiting. But I also think about, and I can't speak for Exact or Epic, I can talk about TrueStage. We're a B2B company, and a lot of the businesses that we work with come to Madison for visits, and we want their experience to be a holistically a good one. So a good one when they're on premises at True Stage, but a good one when they're in downtown Madison, staying downtown. We want to have people stay in downtown Madison versus Middleton. Middleton is great, but it's a different experience than staying downtown. So I think about the experience of our employees, employees who live here, who work at True Stage. I think about the experience of our businesses that we work with who come to visit Madison. And then I also think about our remote workforce. We've got, since the pandemic, so much of our workforce is remote. And then people come into Madison for larger meetings. And again, having a good employee experience for our remote workforce is really important. And a strong downtown Madison is key to that.
One last question here is for Kate Dale. What does the future of tourism look like? Matt Trammell sort of mentioned it when he talked about restaurants. Downtown has changed, right? For a long time, we thought downtown was all about, commercial office tenants and they're using their spaces. Actually, the data has changed. It really is about visitors. Actually, first of all, us that come into downtown that may not live in downtown, but also visitors coming from the entire country and world because of UW. What is that future of tourism in downtown here in Madison?
Good news is we're only poised for success. We have made some really strategic investments this year and the past couple of years to put us in that category. We all know that Madison's growing from residents, but it's also doing the same for visitors because when someone comes to live here, it all starts with the visit. So they're coming here to visit it, they fall in love, and then they move here. We will talk about Top Chef again, Matt, because that was a really strategic investment that we did, and Rob Gard and our team here was a big part of that. But working with the state to bring Top Chef to Madison, and one thing we loved, and if you didn't watch the show, I hope you did or should, is that Madison got a lot of publicity because we have this beautiful skyline and beautiful isthmus. And it worked out great for us because not only are we pushing our culinary scene, but we're really pushing that isthmus, that Lake City Lake living and visiting because Seattle's not owning it, and frankly, we will. So that's what differentiates us as a destination for visitors. Other investments we've made, I mentioned this earlier, we're spending a lot in the Chicago and Minneapolis markets, and we'll continue to do so next year. During the DNC, or actually over a 2-month period, we took over Chicago with the double-decker bus and had poked a little bit of fun on lake effect. And so our kind of lake effect. And we had this relaxing serenity scene on both lakes with the urban isthmus in the middle on the bus boards. And they were all on taxi toppers, digital out of home, and so on and so forth. So took over Chicago. So we're excited to see the lift that the visitation comes out of that market. We also hit those direct flight markets that I mentioned earlier. So getting in, specifically Washington, D.C. was another one that we hit hard, as well as LaGuardia and Newark, a little bit of Dallas. And Dallas is weirdly trending. We can't quite figure that out, where that's coming from. But going to do a lot of research next year to find out more and get those markets here. Also, another shout out to Jamie Patrick and the sales team. Sarah Lemmers is also here. They booked this year their most future room nights they've ever booked on record, and we're not even through the end of the year. So that will only help us grow that conventions and meetings and sports events as we move into 25 and beyond. We are booking, that team is really looking way, way forward ahead. So the leisure is really what's in front of us in the next couple weeks, a couple months. They're looking 25, 26, 27 and beyond. So that's exciting news on our front too. And then I think the other part is all the excitement that we're all excited about, all the developments, all the lakefront projects, everything that's going on. It's only helpful for a visitor. But to talk about what Angela was saying earlier, we need to make sure it's a welcoming place for all, and that everyone feels welcome when they're here, and that we make sure to build the amenities for everyone.
All right, we have a couple minutes left, so we have a rapid fire 2-part question for each of you. Matt Carlson, you're up first. What word would you use to describe the future of downtown Madison? One word. And what's your favorite meal in downtown?
One word.
You need to use the mic.
I know.
Oh, okay.
My word would be dynamic, because I think that's what we have in front of us as an opportunity. My favorite meal would probably be the tornado room.
Oh, good one. All right, Kate.
We stole one of my favorite meals. Vibrant, and outside of Tornado, I'd say the tagliatelle at Cento.
Very specific. I like it.
From a commercial real estate standpoint, I would say stable, and favorite meal is Heritage Tavern.
From a diversity standpoint, I'm going to use 2 words. I'll make it a hashtag, so it's one. Hashtag cautiously optimistic. And then favorite meal is the fried walleye at the Tornado Room.
Very nice. I'm 48, though, turning 48 soon. What is the hashtag? Matt Trammell.
I would say, at least from the bids perspective and the street level, I would say opportunity is the word. And then
You actually don't have to answer this question because you work for all of them, but if you want to, go ahead.
any sandwich from imagination. Yeah.
I'm going to say growing, because that goes with what I said earlier, so it seems to line up. And then I'd say lunch at Tavernicaya.
Well, no one asked me, but
Jason, your
I
word.
mean, hopeful, for sure, energetic, yeah. My favorite meal, no, I'm just kidding. Cassetta, I am really into the big cheesy at Teddy Wedgers right now. Oh, only the half, because you'll need a nap for the rest of it. And my secret gem is the Budino at Osteria. That is, good. All right, thank you, Matt, Angela, Emily, and Kate, for your excellent work and all of your leadership here in the downtown. Let's give them a huge round of applause. Big thanks to our sponsors, Carlson, Black, Ocala, and Battenberg. Thank you, Matt. Ho-Chunk Gaming, Madison, J.P. Cullen, Lake Ridge Bank, Urban Land Interests, The Beautiful, Edgewater Hotel, Steve Brown Apartments, as well as all of our partners on this year's State of the Downtown. We appreciate all of you attending, and we'll see you downtown this holiday season with full bellies and full bags. Thank you all for coming.